Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, it is a delight to bring you this wonderful discussion on a topic that as development practitioners you are all keen on. At the West Africa Civil Society Institute, we are interested in exploring themes, perspectives, and experiences that enrich our own practice and more so enlightens the work that we do. Today in Accra, I will be your host, Jimm Fomunjong, and I will be talking to one great colleague of mine all the way from Uganda. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Jim.
And can you kindly introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Emmanuel Waiswa. I am based out in Kampala, Uganda. I work with a civil collective, a grassroots development fund that we launched in 2018. And our mission is to try and support communities to lead their own development, leveraging grant making, capacity building, and working towards promoting community philanthropy as a strategy to getting communities to work together towards their own goals.
Amazing, amazing. And here with us is a beautiful picture of a very handsome Ugandan. Could this be you, your son, or your relative?
Not really. So this is a photo that was taken from a community that we're working with back in the day. So usually when we get into communities, the common rhetoric is that they don't have resources. This is usually defined in narratives that often deprive people of the opportunity to be at the forefront of driving their change. So one of the ways that this particular community mobilized the resources was to hold a photo exhibition. So we had the support of a professional photographer from the US that came and took these beautiful photos in the community, which were then auctioned. And the funds from this process were used to finance some of the community initiatives at the time. And this particular photo and the photo exhibition is just one of the many ways that communities can leverage to try and mobilize resources that would otherwise not be possible to mobilize if we went into communities and demanded a particular amount of money. So this kind of innovation is what we're trying to promote at Civil Collective. Get into communities, get them to self-mobilize, and start working on a process that enables them to mobilize internal resources, pair those resources with external support to facilitate a long-term process of collective action.
This is quite amazing. And just, when you talk about a photo shoot and using that to mobilize resources, I'm just thinking about what the beautiful Ashanti community that has one of the rich cultural heritage, here in Ghana can mobilize from, photo shoots. But I'm keen on knowing what was the value of this picture at that time and what could be the value of this picture now, should we have another exhibition?
Yeah, so when you look at monetary terms, this photo could cost about $30 at an auction. But there is the emotional value that we cannot reduce to money. And this is the fault in development work today, that we try to find the monetary value of each investment that we make or that we require people to contribute. This photo right now has the emotional investment and capacity to raise more people around this issue, more than just the $30 that it cost at the time, because it embodies the sentiments and emotions of a community that is on a path to resolve their development challenges, leveraging their own experiences. This is not just a photo. This is an experience of the lived Ugandan reality. A bicycle is a very important tool in terms of transportation. This young man embodies the vision of the community in trying to resolve some of their challenges. So these are just symbols that embody the realities of the community. We cannot reduce this to just a few dollars.
Yeah, that is quite interesting, and leveraging on your experience as a Shift the Power Fellow, particularly because you were one of the inaugural fellows, of this amazing program by the Global Fund for Community Foundations. How does such an initiative embolden that spirit of Shift the Power, or the practice or discourse of Shift the Power in our current day development discourse and practice?
Thank you. So money has been a very strong medium of exchange for many years. And it has come to be known world over that the one with the money calls the shots. So the more the Western world or privileged Ugandans or Ghanaians have money, they're able to control the course of development in communities. Now, as communities continue to be innovative about different ways to mobilize their own internal resources, this just being a case and an example of how communities can do that, we can attempt to shift the power that is inherent of development the moment we can get communities to self-mobilize and mobilize resources internally that can compete with external funding. And it is not just a competition, but it is a way to complement their efforts and complement the spirits of those that fund development from external sources. So the spirit of shift the power attempts to try and tilt the balance in terms of power that comes with money. And if you don't have money and I have money, I have more control over your future. The moment you start getting the resources you need to get you to where you want to go, that makes a difference in our interaction. Then you have a bargaining power. So the more communities can mobilize themselves, get into initiatives that can get them to raise more than just money, because there are certain in-kind contributions that can't be reduced to monetary terms. Things like labor, things like time, the knowledge of their own realities. Now, we need to start a process that gets communities to understand that they are not victims of their realities, because that's the message that we have had many years, people being told and taught to define themselves as victims. And that ensures that a certain group of people has more power over the realities of another group. As communities continue to innovatively mobilize resources of all kinds, they get that bargaining position to start a journey that gets them to the goals that they define within their context. So I think that it's time, and with the challenges with development financing now, the cuts at USAID and a number of other agencies pulling out, it is a golden opportunity for communities in Africa and other places to start thinking about what do we have that we can leverage for our own development. And to do this, we need facilitators. Organizations like WACSI, Civil Collective, need to retreat from the position of being at the forefront and then retreating to be facilitators to support a collective process that gets individuals at the forefront of their own development.
That is really quite amazing. And if you're following this session, this edition, what resources do you have in your community? What resources do you have, within the people that you are mobilizing? Leverage those to champion the agendas that you want to achieve. And one last word from you, Emmanuel, particularly within the spirit of the Community Power Fellowship that you are a fellow of, an amazing initiative being run by Root Change. What message will you have, or do you have, for those intermediaries or civil society actors across the African continent, across, the regions in the global majority? What message do you have for them as potential drivers of, that energy to champion development as driven from our side of the world?
Well, thank you. So if we were to think about how African nations got independence, these struggles were led by individuals who had not gone as far in education as we've gone today. These were individuals that didn't have access to the internet. These were individuals who only shared one spirit, and that spirit was that we can govern ourselves. If we have problems, means we can resolve those problems. But we can't do that if someone else is leading us in a direction that is only defined externally. So it is time for African civil society to go back to their roots and say, why did we start the work we're doing? We started the work because we believe that Africans have the solutions for African problems. And we need to empower ourselves with the confidence to retreat as facilitators and allow those constituents that we aim to serve to be at the forefront of driving their change. That lesson is the burden on us to try to be knowledgeable about everything. It means that we can still take the position of facilitators and allow those that are aware of their challenges to define the course that they want to travel. and we can be part of that journey and share within their development, but we can no longer lead the process. It is ethically not right to define what someone values, but if that particular individual can be able to articulate what they value most, then you can only support them along the journey. And also to invite everyone to think about domestic resource mobilization in a different way, to think beyond money. If you have been receiving $100,000 from USAID, you can still raise the same value, both monetary and in kind, locally. We need to talk to governments to create a favorable environment, whether it's tax incentives that can promote giving locally. It could be processes that allow the businesses to connect with community needs and support communities to achieve their goals.
That is quite amazing and an enriching conversation here. Ladies and gentlemen, if there's one thing I've taken from this insightful conversation with a brilliant African brother, it is, as African civil society, we should go back to our roots. Africans have the solutions to their problems. We do have the solutions to our problems. Thank you very much, Emmanuel.
Thanks, Jim.
It has been a delight talking to you. And to our dear viewers, thank you for watching. It is always a delight to have you viewing or listening to our programs. Please like like this post, share, and let many more African civil society actors be part of this conversation. But remember, share with us your view. What is that one message you've taken from this conversation? And Emmanuel will be happy to engage with you in the comment section. Until you watch our next video, bye-bye for now from WACSI. Bye.
Thank you.